like a snowman, stir like a mouse. Celebrate Christmas all through the house.
Hit it!
That's what I'm talking about.
Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hello, and welcome to Wolfridge Woodworking. It's getting closer to the holidays, so I thought it was time to do a Christmas project. So what we've got here is a piece of walnut and a piece of maple, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into, as you could have guessed from the intro, into a snowman. So we're going to use the bottom here, this piece of maple, for the snowman, and this is going to be the hat. I'll have the actual dimensions for all the patterns and everything that I cut in the description below. But just to give you an idea of what we're looking at is this is a piece of maple that is roughly 3 by 3 and about 6 inches tall. Same thing, this is a 3 by 3 piece of walnut, and it is 2 1/4 inches tall. So what we're going to do, and I've already done, is I drill a 1 1/4 inch hole in the bottom, and then the hat is going to get roughly a 1 1/4 inch tenon, and the two are going to be glued together. So hopefully all of this will make sense as I go through it, and I'll try to give you good instructions in case you want to make this yourself, and then I'll have a lot of detail down in the description. So let's get started. And what we're going to do is this is going to be turned at about 1400 RPMs. We're going to first get it round, then it should be pretty close to 3 inches round. And I'm going to be using my square carbide cutter to get this thing round, and then we'll be back. We are also going to be wearing our face shield for protection. Now we've got it round, we need to mark out where the different layers of the snowman are going to be. I've got a template that I've created. I've made several of these. I'll provide the dimensions for these down in the description. So I've got, it's basically a 6-inch piece of wood that I've just got marked up. So I'm going to mark where the levels of the snowman are going to be. And then I'm going to use a parting tool to cut the grooves in there, and hopefully this will make sense in a second once I start doing this. Okay, so now I'm going to take a parting tool, still at 1400 RPM, and I'm going to cut those down. It's 1 3/8 is the diameter of the ring there, 1 5/8 here. So now what we need to do is step these down so it's like the layers of a snowman. So we're going to make this one a little bit smaller than the bottom, and then this one a little bit smaller than that. So it just steps it down. I don't really have a measurement for that. I just play it by ear, and that's what makes each snowman unique. So, you know, you may want to mass produce these. Like I've got 23 of these that I'm making. So, you know, if it had to take measurements every time, I would be here all day. But anyway, so I'm just going to eyeball it, but hopefully you'll see what I mean as the video progresses. So now we've got it stepped down. So what we need to do is just flush up and make the top flat up here. And then we're going to concave this bottom so that it has, it's not sitting on the whole bottom. It's just going to be sitting kind of on the last outside corner here. So we're going to concave that and then square this off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start rounding these over and making them circle. And I'll be using, again, my square carbide tool. I'll be using the round carbide tool to round them over. I'll be using a flat half nose scraper, a carbide detailer, a beading tool, a Robert Sorby, I think it's like a 1/8 inch beading tool. And what we're going to do is put a little bead, decorative bead right there. And then finally, my small half radius or radius square carbide cutter, and that's just going to be used as a scraper. So I'm going to use it on the side and at a slight angle just to get rid of some of the tool marks down into the in the rounded area. So hopefully that'll make sense as I go through. So let's get started. So I'm going to leave this little knob on there because it's what my tailstock is holding against. At the end, what I'm going to do is mount this back in a chuck and then kind of just smooth off and get rid of the bottom here. So that'll be towards the end. So that's a rough shape of the Snowman. It's not a very good camera angle. I wish I could get a better angle, but you'll see it when I get done. So what I need to do is put my groove in here, and then with my detailing tool, I'm going to get down into the grooves and just clean that up so that it is rounded over. So that's what I'm going to do now. Is I'm going to put my my bead in and then clean up these corners. So that's the general shape. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my my scraper to clean up and refine this shape and get the tool marks out of it. Now, if you don't have a beading tool, you can leave this out and just have it as a not a bead there. Maybe make this a little bit shorter and close this gap a little bit. So a beading tool, not having that's not the end of the world. Also here, if you don't have a detailing tool that you can go in and clean these edges up, that's okay too, because you can put ribbon here, which is what we're going to do, and that can kind of hide that that here. So those are some things to work around if you don't happen to have all of the different turning tools. Not sure if you can see the fine shavings that were coming off, but I basically took this square carbide cutter, and rather than going in do it like this, I came in at an angle and really twisted it and tilted it so that it's just really acting as a shear scraper just to clean up inside these indents here. And it got all of the tool marks out, refined the shape, so we're ready to move on to sanding. So we're going to go from probably 150 up to 320. Some spots I may hit the with a little bit of 80, but pretty much it's going to be 150 to 320. Then we are going to put a little sanding sealer on it, and then finally we are going to hit it with some Yorkshire grit, just as that final little bit of sanding. And also the finish on there is just going to be that Yorkshire grit. May put some oil on it, but that Yorkshire grit's got a little bit of oil and wax in it, so it does provide a finish for it. So everything's done, including the Yorkshire grit. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put it in our chuck, and we're going to take the nub off the bottom, and then finish the bottom, sand it, put the sanding sealer on it, do the Yorkshire grit, and then we'll be done with the body, and we'll start working on the hat. Get it off the chuck, kind of give you a preview of it. So that's what our body looks like. So now what we need to do is let's get the hat, the piece of walnut in the centers, and start turning that. Okay, we've got it mounted in between our centers. So now again we're going to turn this round and put a tenon on this end, square off this end, and then we're going to start to form the hat. now I'm again going to mark out where like the brim goes. You could do this freehand if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and mark it up. And this is just kind of where the brim of the hat goes and how deep I want to tint it. So we're going to mark that up. And then we're going to make a hat out of this. So we're going to use our square carbide cutter, and we're going to bring this hat down a little bit more, and then we're going to kind of concave it a little bit, and then leave this space here for the brim of the hat. And then we'll turn this down to a tenon. So let's get started. That's the general shape of the hat's going to be. I may refine it a little bit, but I put a little groove in there because what I want to do is put a burn mark, so where the like there's a ribbon around the hat, just to refine that. So, and then I'll probably clean it up just a little bit more off camera, but basically that's the shape. You can do anything with these hats. You can make them very different. Probably want a little small here, so I may trim this back a little bit, but you can just make it however you want. It's make each one unique. Alright, so we got the shape of the hat refined. So I'm just going to go ahead and sand the bottom of this because I won't be able to get to it once it's in the chuck. I'll be back in a minute, and it'll be mounted into the chuck, and we'll get to sanding the rest of the hat. So now we're going to take it up through the grits and apply the sanding sealer and Yorkshire grit, and then the hat will be done, and all we have to do is turn the nose. So now it's time to turn the nose. Now the challenge that I had was I didn't have a jaw that was small enough to grab a hold to this 1/8 or 1/4 inch dowel rod. So what I did was I took a pen blank, drilled a hole in it, cut it on the bandsaw in two, and so now when I grab a hold of it and put it in my jaws, it clamps down on it. So it's acting as a clamp. And so you don't want it to stick out too far, otherwise it's going to flex too much for you. So this may wobble around a little bit, but it will center up and get the nose, because I'm going to make it probably about 1/2 inch long, and it'll come to like a carrot. And now we're going to paint it with an orange marker. All right, and there's our nose. And now we're just going to get our pull saw, and we're going to cut this off. Okay, so there's our little nose. Okay, so now we need to put this thing together. So we've got all the parts we need here to do this. So I've got the body, I've got the hat, I've got the nose, a drill with a 7/64 inch drill bit in it. That's the same size that we cut the nose to. Sharpie to do the eyes, a punch so that we can make sure that we don't drift on there. We got some CA glue. So let's get started. So first thing we need to do is attach the hat. Now, what I like to do is, you can see the rings, the grain goes, here. So it's up to you how you want to do it. Do you want to do it where the grain is going down, or do you want it to cut it where you see the circles? I like to do it where I see the circles because it makes it look a little bit more like a face. But you can use the lines to also judge where you're putting the eye. So 6 one way, half a dozen the other. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to attach the hat. So I'm going to spray a little activator, just because I need to do this quicker, just on the top here. Okay. And then I'm going to put some silicone, not silicone, but some super glue around the hat. Just around where that tenon is. And it should bond pretty quickly. Okay, and that's pretty solid now. So now what we need to do is figure out where we want this nose. So I like to go, just use your best judgment. So try to get it in the center. Trying to do this and make sure I get it on camera too. That part is a little more challenging. Okay, so there's my indent. So now I'm going to put just a small hole in. Okay, and now we just need to test fit the nose. Let's see, trying to get it so that the camera can pick up on it. So we just test fit the nose, and the nose fits well. Just clear off some of that debris. Okay, so now what we need to do is let's just drop a little bit of glue in our hole. Alrighty, so there is his 90% of his face. And now this is the part that I struggle with, is making the eyes. Some of the other ones I made, they looked like they had had mascara on and were crying, and it went all over the place. Some looked like they were cross-eyed. So just try to get it to your best. Everyone's going to be unique. So I just go in, coal is always a different shape. So that's what I'm going with. The coal is always a different shape. So, and this snowman's unique. So there, you can see, I don't know if the camera can pick up on it. There's the eyes. If I'm looking here and I'm being critical, one eye is bigger than the other, so I might just try to touch it up a little bit. But the danger here is you keep doing it, and now you got eyes that are so big they don't match the face. But so that is the basic snowman. So now what I need to do is put the ribbon on for his scarf. Alrighty, so I've picked up this ribbon. If I can get it here, from Joann's, and I'll have a link in the description on where you can get this ribbon. So now we're just going to take it and just tie it around him. And I pulled it tight, and then I just simply do a double knot. And I try to twist it so it tries to fall down like that. So there we go. And I try to put it there on the side. So there is our finished snowman. Hopefully you enjoyed this project. Again, you can mass produce these. Typically I turn the bodies and then the hats and then all of the noses at one time. They make great Christmas gifts for people. But I will try to put as much of the details in the description. measurements and things like that, so that you can go ahead and make these for yourself if you like. But again, thank you for stopping by. If this is something that you liked, hit the like button. If these are the types of projects and some of my other ones, please subscribe and hit the bell so that you're notified when I upload a new video. And then finally, just share it with people, and also just leave me some comments on, is this the type of content that you like? Is it enough detail? Is it too much detail? I'm still new at this, so I'm trying to make content that is enjoyable to watch and helpful to watch. So again, thank you for stopping by. I can't wait to see you guys the next time on Wolf Ridge Woodworking, and have a blessed day.